Will the January 8th meeting of the Ascension Parish Planning Commission please come to order? Stacy, will you let the minutes reflect that all members are present? Will you please all join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will staff please introduce themselves?
Stacy Webb, Secretary for Planning and Development.
Lindsay Manda, Legal Counsel for Planning and Zoning.
Ricky Compton, Planning and Development Director.
Ben Moran, Planner. Lance Brock, Zoning Official.
Engineering.
All right, I'd like to welcome council members Todd Lambert and Terry Cazzo to our meeting. And I have no other comments. So our first item is general business, item number 6, a public hearing to recommend approval or denial to the Parish Council a resolution supporting the amending of Chapter 19 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to impose transportation impact fees. I'd like to call a public hearing for this. Are there any cards for comments? Mr. Aguilar.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies and staff. Mr. Landry did, I thought, an excellent presentation at the last Planning Commission meeting on the transportation fees. And, what I would like to just say, and I'm not necessarily against a transportation fee, impact fee, but I would ask that if y'all do send a recommendation to the council to look at this, that you would ask them to set up a committee, like Mr. Landry also referenced in his comments last time, that set up a new committee, because the study that this thing was based on is 10 years old. And I would ask that if you do send a resolution to the council to look at this again, that y'all would set up another committee and start the review process over again, to look at it again, instead of just sending this particular ordinance back to them for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? In that case, what do we have discussion here among us? Mr. Sanji?
Yeah, I'd like to go on record as saying I support this very strongly. I was on the study group that brought out the original proposed ordinance in 2006, 2005, 2006. And we did quite a bit of work. We had a lot of public hearings, a lot of study. The whole point of impact fees are that as development comes at a rapid pace, the people who are having an impact on infrastructure should pay a portion of the cost of that that impact on the infrastructure. It would have been good if we had passed it back then, because we did have a considerable amount of growth after that, after Katrina. And it looks like we're going to have a tremendous amount of growth over the next 10 to 20 years. I'm talking about the parish maybe even doubling in size. The old Chinese proverb says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time to plant it is today. I agree totally with Mr. Aguilar. These are 10-year-old numbers. We don't want to propose this exact ordinance, although I think a lot of the groundwork has been done. I think take the new data, what we have with costs and so forth, work up a schedule that is legally defensible and that makes sense, that really matches the impact of a development, the cost of it to the fee. And then as we go forward, I think that 20 years from now, that if the council decides to go ahead and impose the impact fees, that the people 20 years from now will thank you for making a very wise decision. So at the appropriate time, I would like to move that we do send a resolution supporting the idea of considering and studying and amending the ordinance to impose impact fees in Ascension Parish.
Does anyone else have a comment?
For clarification, your motion is to accept this in conjunction with maybe amending, as Mr. Aguilar said.
Right. Yeah, well, we're not going to recommend the exact same, or I don't think we should recommend the exact same ordinance that was proposed in 2006. I think so many things have changed since then that the numbers themselves are going to be different. But, and we also, and of course, what the council is going to need to decide too is a lot of things. Is the impact fee strictly for transportation? Do they want to consider it for other things? Sewer, schools, anything like that. I mean, that's not something that we're going to decide, or we're going to get that specific. But we do want to move along that concept that, yes, to address the growth that's inevitable in Ascension Parish, we would like that the people that are impacting the infrastructure of Ascension Parish should be required in some form or fashion to pay for it.
And I think the other comment to that is, as I read this, clearly it's major roadway. Either we're going to be a little bit more specific in defining what major roadway is, or we may just have to consider, and this may be something to identify in a more relevant recent study, the roadways, the infrastructure, and not narrow it down just to major.
Right.
So I think what we're saying is, yes, we accept the amendment, identifying the proposed amendment, let's say, motion for an amendment, and move forward with that.
Staff did put together a categorization of roadways in the parish in the last year. I think we have a really very good categorization of roadways in the parish. I don't think that's an issue. And I fully support this ordinance also. We're still in public hearing, though, I guess, if there are any comments from the audience.
Well, I think I already asked, and so the public hearing's over. And so do I have any other comments from the commissioners here? In that case, is there a motion?
Okay, I would like to move that that this planning commission send a resolution to the council supporting impact fees and leave it, not get too specific as to exactly what kind and how it's going to work out, but have them then initiate that process. I guess the way it's worded right here, a resolution supporting the amending of Chapter 19 to the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance to impose transportation, and I would leave out transportation impact fees and let them decide which specific impact fees they would like to do. Perhaps we could maybe get some guidance or suggestions from council members here. Is that something you all could work with?
Yes.
Yeah, I think first thing, it's on the table for transportation, so that's all you're voting on is transportation, not
Right.
sewer, not schools, and not anything else. And I think it needs to go, instead of the full council, it needs to go to Transportation Committee when it leaves this board. Because the Transportation Committee, if it's a transportation, it needs to go there first. But that's a few things I had problems with back in '05. I would say on board when it got, knocked down pretty bad by the public. It is for major highways. You can only use these impact fees for new highways, new turn lanes. If you have an existing road, say the guy that's paying this impact fee lives in Sanamar, in a rural area. He pays the impact fee. He may never ride on the road that gets repaired from that fee because it's got to be in a district. They got to split it up in districts. And his road might need repairing, but he can't use the money to repair that road.
Right.
You can only use it for new stuff, like something that's new turn lanes, new roads, widening roads.
Right.
So they have some issues there. And the biggest problem with the way it's written now, you would lose a lot of commercial businesses. At $1,000, at 1,000 square foot for $2,000, 10,000 square foot building is going to cost you $20,000 up front. And you're going to lose a lot of your small businesses. something to look at, you know.
Well, I think the way that, that was a
So
very
like it
long
is now,
motion.
no,
But I think
I
the
would
way
have a
that
lot of issues
Mr.
with it like it
Sanjay moved, and I think we kind of have some motion there, that,
That's just my
it just left up to the Transportation Committee or the parish. We're just recommending an impact fee. It's up to y'all to,
Yeah. But it's laid
Do
out
need
as a
to-
transportation.
Right, I
what's
understand.
on the
Well,
page.
also.
So that's
it was-
what you're voting on, is the transportation.
right,
impact.
I understand.
Yeah, the agenda was published with this language. I'm
Correct.
not sure that we can
Right.
change that language now.
Yeah, that's correct.
But it, you know,
Right.
we made a
Lindsay
point
Kelly
of
can
that.
answer
Okay.
y'all on that.
Can we change the language then?
No, I mean, it was advertised.
It was
for public
advertised this
hearing.
way.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Mr. Sanjay made a oh, well, Mr. Cazzo, would you like to?
Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to speak just a moment. I want to thank you for taking this issue up at all. I appreciate it very much. It was one of the things that I had a passion for when I came to office 2 years ago, and as the chair of the Finance Committee, I set it as one of my goals to see that we have some sort of impact fee in Ascension Parish. So I thank you for taking this up. I look forward to having it come back to Finance with your recommendation, and I think we can deal with it from there. I appreciate the idea that we might create another committee to take a good hard look at these, and I'll ask Ricky to assist us with that. And I think if on the finance level, we should determine who serves on that committee, and I'll be happy to have members of the Transportation Committee, certainly. So I thank you. That's really the only thing I wanted to say to you is I know that this is not an easy issue to look at, and I appreciate very much that you did so. And we will take your recommendation and work from there in the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cazzo.
Thank you. Thank you, cousin.
So, Mr. Sanjay, would you like to clarify your motion?
My motion is simply to send a resolution to the parish council supporting the amending of Chapter 19 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance to impose transportation impact fees. Now, it'll be up to them to decide which committee to send it to, as far as what how amounts, and we won't get into that because that's something that'll have to be studied and finally decided upon by the council. We're simply saying, or I would hope that this body would say, conceptually, we think impact fees are a good thing for this parish, and we would like to see you act on them in some fashion. So basically, the motion is to send them a resolution supporting that, amending that ordinance.
And I'll second that motion, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, our next item is to approve or deny the minutes of the December 11th, 2013 Planning and Commission meeting.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. The next item is the consent agenda. Yes. Second. Who made the
Mr.
motion?
Callen, Mr. Nizo.
Okay, sorry. So, I don't think we had any response from the bank. The affidavit of mortgage declaration, O'Neill J. Burke Jr., property lot B1B, single division. Is there anyone to speak in for this?
No.
All right. So, can the staff clarify what's at the point where it is right now?
We got the simple division submitted to us, and we sent a letter to the bank notifying them that the applicant was attempting to subdivide his property. If they had any objections or anything, they wanted to know about it, to notify us by last week, and then they were put on the agenda tonight as their last opportunity to say something.
So do you recommend that, well, we need to go ahead and, do we have a motion to,
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the next item is a public hearing to approve or deny the following family partition. George Daigle property.
James Fowler, representing Mr. Wyndon Dunbar on the following family partition. I don't believe any comments were made. Asking the commission for approval.
Staff, have any comment on family partition? I see that the staff recommends approval. Do you have a motion to approve?
To approve.
Second?
We have to have a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need to have a public hearing. So is there any other comment on this family partition? No comment, so do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is the Larry family partition, Larry P. Bro Senior Property, lots A1A, A1B, and A1C.
Good evening. I'm Jim Tatum with Tatum Engineering and representing the Bro family. Family petition off of Bluff Road. Ms. Bro is going to give these last two parcels to her daughters, Gwen LeBlanc and Connie Brock. We've addressed the comments from the staff. I think everything's been adequately covered. I'm not aware of any opposition to this family petition, and if I'll be glad to answer any questions, address any comments, and ask for your support. Thank you.
Any comments? I'd like to open this for public hearing. Is there any?
No cards.
Close the public hearing. Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Okay, another family partition. Vincent D. Diaz Jr. property, lots VD 1B1, VD 1B2, and VD 1B3.
It's Brian Aguilar representing Mr. Diaz on this family petition on this property right down the road on Church Point. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
If you'd like to open a public hearing for discussion, are there any comments? Staff, want to make a comment?
I don't have any comments on it.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, item number 10, public hearing to approve or deny the following overlay zone site plan review. Any ABB Incorporated, 18321 Swamp Road, Prairieville, pre-development meeting for neighborhood business overlay site plan. Is anyone here is a petitioner here? No one to speak in favor. Is there any staff comment?
This is for a portable building or a portable office that's there. They asked for to be allowed on this property approximately 2 years ago, and now they're coming and ask for an extension of that. And I think you have my recommendation is that I recommend to deny it. I believe that the business overlay park is not really intended for a mobile office. But he is requesting an extension of 2 more years from now, and I think it comes up in approximately, if I'm not mistaken, about April or so.
Yeah, I remember this issue clearly, and we stretched ourselves really to give them the 2 years in the first place, with a belief in our understanding and their commitment to making, to removing that and making a permanent office space. So I support the staff's recommendation to deny the extension.
So, public hearing is closed. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we deny this request specifically because at the night we approved it, they were asked point blank, was 24 months enough time, and they
That's
said
right.
definitely.
That is correct.
So I would like to make the motion that we deny this request.
And I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. So the next item is ordinances, public hearing to recommend approval or denial to the Parish Council amendments to the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code. Ordinance SR 13-16, revisions to the subdivision regulations of the Unified Land Development Code pertaining to drainage, design, and construction criteria. So I think Mr. Rue was going to come here and address us, but staff?
The commission requested Mr. Rue's appearance to discuss this item And Mr. Roos said at this time, he's not interested in pursuing it any further, and so staff would recommend that this item just be tabled indefinitely until Drainage wants to take it back up.
Okay, I'd like to open a public hearing. Is anybody, Mr. Aguilar?
Thank you again, this is Billy Aguilar. I spoke to Mr. Rue for a long time about this, and we determined there's some legal issues that needed to be determined. I think they spoke to Mr. Balvin today, and Mr. Balvin said they kind of need to leave it like it is, so he decided to just leave the ordinance as it is, I guess.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to
Do we
table?
still need to table it, or can we just take it off completely, or does it matter?
I think you table it, huh?
I think
Just
we
table it
table it.
indefinitely, that's the process?
I think I need a motion to table.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Staff report. Is there a staff report?
Yes, I just wanted to let the rest of the commission know that we met with DOTD Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday? We met with DOTD on Monday to discuss the entrance to the Woodland Manor subdivision off of Coontrap Road. I was unable to attend the meeting, but Mr. Sanji was there as well as Tim, and if they want to give a little bit more synopsis of that meeting, they can fill you guys in.
Mr. Sanji?
Okay, we had a very good meeting. We had two gentlemen, you remember the names, Tim?
That was Bert Moore and
Yeah.
I do not remember the other.
They were very helpful, very informative about the situation. They understood fully what the situation was. They agreed that it's a really awkward entrance where it's located for the subdivision. We went through the list of all the options that we had, like about 5 or 6 things we suggested that might be done. The one thing that struck me was I was under the impression after the discussion that DOTD would not have approved a turn lane if we had tried to require it as a commission. The gentleman there said, no, that we wouldn't object to that. We wouldn't ourselves, DOTD, require it, but if this commission required it, they would approve that. The only stipulation was that it would have to be done according to their specifications. It would have to be done with whatever requirements that they would put up. We asked for a cost, a rough cost. They said that turn lane would probably run about $300,000 for that. Ricky?
Just to clarify, I think it's a deceleration lane, not a turn lane.
Well, no, there was a deceleration lane coming from the north, and then also a turn lane from the other end.
Okay, I didn't
So we
see
looked
that
at-
in the memo. Okay, great.
Both.
We talked about both of those things, and he wasn't really too enthusiastic about the turn lane. He didn't know that it would necessarily solve the problem. He brought data concerning crashes, and in the 4-year period prior to this, there were 3 crashes that were reported that they had record of. Now, there may have been several other people that ran off the road and pulled themselves out or got pulled out and didn't report the incident, but they only had a record of 3 at that time. According to the data they had and the guidelines that they use, they wouldn't really have required anything for that entrance, and that they would have approved it as it was. If you recall, we had a number of people really raising some concerns. They thought about, for example, school buses leaving and that being a danger. The fact that there would be in and out traffic. They were helpful in this sense. When they looked at the number of lots, they've got data that show that peak hours, they had averages and so forth, that in the morning it would amount to maybe a car or so every minute leaving the subdivision. It would never be a backup. It would pile where it was piled up. He didn't really seem overly concerned that it was a traffic issue or even a safety issue. But he did understand the fact that the curve is a dangerous curve, whether there's an entrance to the subdivision or not. He talked about they would look at additional signage and reflectors and so forth that would perhaps warn people a little bit more. They can do that. But as far as anything else, they would not, I mean, we even talked about, can we put a stop sign there and make it an intersection? No, they couldn't do that. Suggestion came out that we may consider a roundabout at that point. But basically, he didn't see that there was any need for, certainly not a traffic light, but they wouldn't even require turn lanes based on the size of the subdivision and what he called the under capacity. I mean, the road is well under capacity as far as the traffic there is what the road could handle. So they gave us some good suggestions. They were very helpful, and they said if we need anything else, we could certainly call on them to do that. Tim, did I leave anything else out?
No, that's, basically it. They will look at different signage and chevrons that they may want to look at. Most of anything was not because of the subdivision, it's just a bad curve, and that was their main point. That it wasn't because of the subdivision.
Yeah.
Any other comments? All right, so engineering staff report?
I just wanted to go over some of the projects that we have going on. There are 7 projects that are in their bond period, and once that is all developed, that'll be 521 lots. There are 8 projects that are under the infrastructure, construction, roadways, et cetera. That'll bring 356 lots into the system. There are 3 projects that have been approved, but they're waiting to start construction. That'll be another 183 lots. There are 2 projects now which are in the construction plan review. That's 139 lots. And then very preliminary, we're just in the beginning stages of talking about these. There are 2 projects of 318 lots. So that's a total of 1,517 lots.
Thank you. Next item is my favorite one. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. We'll return in 5 minutes.